So I'm gonna teach you a reading strategy using the science fiction book called Space Cows by Elliot Fletcher, illustrated by Tom Gisbury. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna have your students do is you're gonna have your students look at the cover. So for instance, just see what the cover looks like. Alright, you are gonna ask students, what do you think the space towers might look like? Okay, so looking at the cover, students might say, they have like astronaut suits, they have an astronaut helmet, they're flying or they're floating in space, stuff like that. You can also ask students, for instance, like, what do you imagine your spaceship to look like? Okay, where do you think the cows are going? What kind of adventure could they have in space? So these questions will basically be like before reading the book questions that you can ask before reading it. So let's get into reading the book, shall we? So you are gonna want to tab the first page. Alright, so let's see. The first page is Space Cows Fly High. Space cows fly low. Space cows dance flee in a row. Some space cows are green, some space cows are blue. So here you can ask students, like, why do you think some space cows are green, some are blue? And see what kind of imagination they come up with. Like, for instance, maybe they're blue because of what they eat, or maybe they might come up with some ideas. Some of them quack, but most of them moo. Space cows are big, space cows are tiny. So here students might ask, like, why is this space cow big and why is this space cow is tiny? And your answer to them can be like, why do you think this cow is big and this one is tiny? Do you think this is maybe like an adult cow and this might be like a little kid cow? You see what I'm saying? Most of them are happy, but this one is whiny. So I would say, I wonder why this one might be whiny, or might be like upset. What do you guys think would be my question to my students? And and see what ideas they come up with. Space cows eat chips on a long space cow trips. So, like in the beginning, when I asked, what do you think spaceships might look like? Students might say, like, oh look, this is what your space bus might look like. As it does look like a regular little school bus, as you can see. Then space cows sleep in space cow ships. Okay, so like students might be like, oh, so this is like where they sleep, like this is their bed. Are girl space cow babies? Yes, there is one. All he wants is to have space cow fun. So, okay. Space cows like games. Space cows like toys. So, I'll be like, okay, so guys, so space cows act like games and toys just like we like games and toys. Alright? And then I'll be like, what game are they playing back here with? And some might say Jenga, as that does look like Jenga. Alright? Then I'll be like, okay, so what about the baby? What toy he's playing with? And some might say Legos, as that does look like Legos block. Space cows do not like lots of noise. So here I will ask, here I will kind of pause and tell my students, the one thing space cow don't like is what, okay? And they should answer by saying a lot of noises. Kind of to see if they're understanding the problem of the story. Well, basically like the problem in the story view. They cover up girl space cow ears. So here I will make a connection. Here I will tell my students, what did the space cows do to cancel out the noise? The answer should be they cover their ears with earmuffs, as those do look like earmuffs. Alright? To make sure that they are understanding the solution of that went with the problem. First, it is silent. So here I will say, can you think of a time when you worked together with a friend to solve a problem just like the cows? Okay, and they should answer that question. Then they all chill. Now, what will these space cows do? Space cows coming to a planet near you. So here out at the end, I will ask, how did the cows show teamwork and curiosity during their journey? Students should reply by saying like, they had a lot of fun, they went on a little trip, they like to dance, play with games, toys, and stuff like that. And stuff like that basically. Alright. But at the same time, using this same book, you can like before reading, encourage students to use the title and illustration, take a picture of what space cows might look like and what they might do. Okay, and while reading, you can also pause and describe out loud what you imagine the scenes to look like, focusing on details like color, shapes, and action. You can also ask students to close their eyes and create a mental image of the planet, the space cows, or the spaceships that they use. And you can also encourage drawing or verbalizing their image to depend on comprehension. Alright, you can also use descriptive language from the text to support the visualization, pointing out sensory details. You can also reinforce that visualizing helps your student understand and enjoy the story better by making it come to life in their minds. Okay. Again, you can also some questions that you can also ask while reading the story. You can ask one. So there is an activity that your students can do. Alright. I am trying to find it. So let's see. So what you can also do with your students, especially for this book, is you can. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to find the activity that I had that you can do with your students. So just give me one little minute. Alright, and let's see. I can get found. Alright, so using this book, you can also ask questions like before reading question that I had. Alright, you can also ask questions like, what do you see in your mind as like the cows are in the space bus? What color or sound can you imagine the spaceship making? How do you picture the planets in the story? Another question can be like, if you could visit this planet, what would you want to explore first? Again, what do you imagine is happening right now? Can you describe it with color, shape, or action? Like, for instance, while they are having like the cows are having a problem, you can ask that question to see what the answer might be. How do you think the cows feel in this moment, and what clues from the story help you imagine that? So same thing, when the cows are facing like a problem or a challenge, those would be the questions that I would kind of like want my students to kind of answer. At the end of the story, you can also ask like students, what do you picture as the cows return home, or like go to a different planet, for instance? What was your favorite image from the story and why? How did you visualize the scene and help you understand the story better? Alright, again, for the small activity, will be my space scene visualization project. The goal here is to help your student practice visualizing by turning mental images into creative expressions. So the materials you're gonna need is just paper or card shot, crayons, color pencils, and markers, and again space stickers or foil stars. So the instructions would be, You will help students to choose your favorite part of Space Cows, maybe the launch, a new planet, or meaning just Space Cows. Close your eyes and picture that scene. Think about, what do you see? Colors, shapes, objects. What do you hear or smell? How do the cows look and feel? Draw or paint what you imagine. Write 1 or 2 sentences describing your scene using descriptive words. Example, the planet was covered in sparkling purple dust and floating cheese moons. Share your picture and description with a partner or a group. Compare what each person imagined. Alright, so that would be just a small activity that you guys can do together. Or they can also just do it on their own too. As that will also be a good way. But thank you so much for listening to my strategy for reading, especially and then for Space Cows. Thank you so much.